Podcasts are like the new radio shows, and one of my personal favorites is the Tizzy and Wayne Coffee Show. Tizzy and Wayne report on and interview a variety of indie creators, from musicians to authors to artists. This is the perfect show to listen to when you're sipping your morning coffee. Subscribe to the Tizzy and Wayne Coffee Show, available on all major platforms. Sometimes authors aren't really sure how to market themselves because what they write hits so many cross-genre tropes. Many often call themselves multi-genre authors, but what happens when your writing blends things together like a delicious milkshake? Hi, I'm your host, Garrett K. Jones, and this month in Creator's Corner, we're talking about blending genres. Happy Saturday, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. We've got just a handful of standard episodes left before we move into Author Awareness August. I have just one Forming Fantasy video, a final new top 10 list, a new Author Awareness monthly interview, and one final writing tip before launching the showcase outlining who I'm interviewing for August. It's coming down to the wire, and I'm getting really excited to close out a solid season. Before going any further with the video, be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon for notifications on new videos. You can select notifications for all videos, or you can select notifications based on your preferences. If you're watching on your phone, be sure to update those settings inside the app itself to get the most out of your viewing experience. And don't forget, there are other inexpensive ways to become a channel supporter through Patreon, buying and repping merch, and more. I'll talk more on those methods towards the end of the video. So this month, we're talking about blending literary genres, or better put, we're discussing hybrid genres. A hybrid genre book is a story that takes elements and tropes from two or more genres and blends them together in a nice little mix. It happens a lot in books, but we are able to identify it more easily in film. A lot of buddy cop films tend to blend action and comedy. You see this in the Lethal Weapon franchise, though those movies lean more towards the action. You also see it in the Rush Hour franchise, and one of my personal favorites, The Other Guys, starring Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg. But there are other ways that genres can be blended that you wouldn't necessarily think would work. Case in point, science fiction and westerns are two great examples. I think the way that this is worked out best, at least in my opinion, is in Joss Whedon's Firefly. The mashup really works. You have space travel and you have these socio-political conflicts based on imperialism and colonialism versus free will and manifest destiny. There is a space opera type of vibe, but once you get out into the individual colonial planets, you see something interesting happen. Everything operates and takes on this old-timey Wild West location. The technology might be a little bit more sophisticated, but it still operates or has that aged, weathered look akin to the Wild West. Even the clothing is reminiscent of the late 19th century Western style, albeit with mixes of Chinese influence dashed in, seeing how many of the characters use phrases from Mandarin Chinese. Romantic comedy is another hybrid genre. You can have romance by itself or the comedy by itself, but rom-coms have a definite staying power in the minds of audiences, even if the plot points are contrived and usually get recycled over and over and over ad nauseum. But comedy is one of those genres that, if blended well, pairs with just about any other genre. Mel Brooks really puts that to tremendous effect with Blazing Saddles, which is a comedy western, Spaceballs, a sci-fi comedy, and Robin Hood Men in Tights, which is an epic adventure and comedy. I mean, they're spoofs, but still they work. Horror is another genre that most people don't associate with pairing well with comedy. Terrifying and suspenseful elements have been blended with action quite effectively, science fiction and even westerns. Hell, it was even used with some romantic elements for the Underworld franchise, as the first film was a vampire werewolf take on Romeo and Juliet. Even Seth Grahame-Smith wrote his take on Pride and Prejudice by adding zombies to it. But there are two standout examples in my mind for horror comedy, namely the 1984 Ghostbusters, the good one, and Shaun of the Dead. But the question we have to ask ourselves is, how do we blend these genres and make them work for us as writers? And that's what we're going to answer right now. Writing a hybrid genre story is a lot like cooking a good recipe. You need to have all of the ingredients in the right amounts to make it work. Too much salt ruins the flavor. Just like too much science fiction or fantasy can take the reader out of the groundedness of the characters and their arcs. So here are some do's and don'ts for blending genres, which are taken from a 2010 blog post written by Joanna Stampfel-Volpe for WritersDigest.com, a literary agent who has fielded plenty of queries on this topic. The link for this article is down below. First, you need to understand why genres matter. While hybrid genre books are severely popular, it's important to understand genre fiction because a genre, taken from the Latin genus, means classification, and it helps categorize your book for potential readers. It's a marketing tool, and it's crucial to know who you're writing for, specifically which audience you're writing for. Knowing the genre helps provide expectations for your audience. If you have a fantasy-sounding title like Slaying Dragons, but the book is a romance with zero fantasy elements to it, with only a bit of throwaway dialogue to explain the title, then the expectation has been missed. Target audience lost. Second, and I'm parsing here for clarity, identify your base genre. Now the blog says identity is, but I want you to focus on the idea of identifying. That's the verb. Going back to my Firefly reference, at its core the show was science fiction. There was space travel, hover vehicles, faster than light travel. There were massive advancements in technology. Sci-fi is the base genre, and it's flavored with Western themes like train and bank heists, roguish anti-heroes standing up for the common folk, struggling to make a life for themselves in the frontier of the civilized world or space. The Reavers offer a horror element, and some episodes and the film's spin-off for Serenity do have espionage elements, but at its core, Firefly was science fiction first, Western second, and that takes me to the third item: add equal parts of more than one genre. These elements should enrich the story without overpowering it because they will enhance your subgenre. Fourth, you're going to want to force a genre. This is playing the publishing industry's dirty little classification game. It's frustrating, believe me, but it's necessary. Too many descriptions, like having too many adjectives in your narrative, will undoubtedly ruin how the recipe or book is received. The other part to playing that game is letting the professionals make the ultimate call. If you're a traditionally published author, then that means leaving it to your editor and literary agent to help you market the book in the best way possible. It makes it easier for publicists and booksellers to market your book effectively to potential readers. Lastly, put the story first. Don't sacrifice the story you're writing just to make it fit neatly into half a dozen different genres. Don't follow the trends. That seems like the way to go, but forcing your story into multiple genres simultaneously is a lot like cornering the market on Pogs, if you're old enough to remember those. It may seem totally fetch, but it won't help you in the long run.
Stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen.
I speak from experience. I've had people tell me they don't enjoy fantasy, but have given my first book a read and they have loved it because it was the story and the characters that mattered more to them. Hey, glad you made it to the end of the video. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe because that's how this channel is going to be able to grow its viewership. If you're able to do so, consider becoming a channel supporter over at patreon.com/gkjpublishing, where you'll have access to one of 4 support tiers. Each tier comes with monthly access to my bloopers reel from when I record my vlogs, sweet tier level perks, and you'll receive recognition in the final video of each month. Check out the merch store at teespring.com/members/gkjpublishing, where you can find comfy clothes, hats, phone cases, a mug, and posters. Buy the merch, snap a pic, and post it to social media with the hashtag 5kingdomsmerch, and I'll feature it in a video. Speaking of posters, don't forget to sign up for the free poster giveaway. I'm giving away this poster right here, and I will be announcing a winner when I hit 200 YouTube subscribers. I'll see you guys back here next week for the June edition of Forming Fantasy, where I will be talking about the creatures of Firefly. Thanks for watching. The vlog of the 5 Kingdoms is filmed without the use of a live audience at Skyrocket Studios in Hanford, California. We can't do what we do without your help, so please make sure to subscribe by clicking the button that's above my head, and make sure to watch and share the videos over here to my left. Have a great week.